Hey there, and thanks so much for being here. Hi, I'm Teresa from 360 Handmade Bags, and welcome to my sewing studio and my YouTube channel. I'm so thankful and happy that you're here, especially if you are a returning subscriber or if you're brand new to my channel. So as always, the infomercial, please like, comment, subscribe, give the thumbs up, do all that stuff to help promote my channel. I really appreciate it. And then a little part of my little infomercial is thank you to all the veteran and experienced bag makers who do join and watch my bag making tutorials. I really appreciate you being here. I do know that I do go into explicit detail on a lot of things just because I always have in the back of my mind that there's somebody brand new to watching, to bag making, and some of these things they may find useful. So thank you so much for being here. So today we are making the Marzia bucket bag from Kaur threads, and Sandeep really did this a fabulous pattern. This is really cool. So check this out. Isn't this just the cutest little bag there ever was, with purse feet on the bottom, a center front and back slip pocket, side slip pockets. You have a drawstring, and when you open up the bag, you have a zipper pocket, and then on the other side you have a large slip pocket that's big enough to fit my Samsung S25 Ultra, I think it is. Anyhow, this is a really cute bag. It also has a shoulder strap, a removable shoulder strap if to wear it that way. And these grab handles are just really fabulous. Now, if you don't want to do the removable shoulder strap, but you do want to have longer strap handles, you can just make these handles longer and just use that. But how adorable is that? So figure out what fabrics and colors that you're going to use and get the pattern, the Marzia bucket bag by Kaur threads, and join me in this tutorial making this fabulous bucket bag. Alrighty, so for today's tutorial, we are doing the Marzia bucket bag by Kaur threads. This is a really cute bucket bag. I have never really done a bucket bag before. It has grommets. That's a first for me as well. The measurements are approximately 9 inches wide to 10 inches tall, 4 inches deep for the finish measurement. Now, it says that the skill level is an intermediate, and I never ever mention the skill level when I do a tutorial, only because one, I never look at the skill level, and number two, I think it just might put a block in some people's minds that they may not be able to do it. I think that you can do it if you follow the directions, follow a tutorial or the pattern directions, and just go slow. And you know what? That's how you increase your skill level and your skills for bag making. So anyhow, that's just an aside. So today, the fabric that I'm using, all fabric is from Sam Fabric. So this is my lining. It's a waterproof canvas. I call it waterproof nylon. I'm not sure what the difference is, but it's probably about a 300 denier, and there isn't any PVC backing, but it has a little bit of substance. So that's my interior lining. One of my exterior fabrics is this gorgeous sunflower color faux leather. So that's the solid color. And then the contrasting color is sunflower, and it is this gorgeous floral print. So this is going to be really pretty. If you've had your eye on this pattern, now's the time to get it and give it a try. And it looks really cool. It's not a super huge bag. This is the Hinterland, I think it is, from lavender and twine. Unfortunately, we can't do lavender and twine tutorials, but this is about the approximate size I think that it's going to be. So also, before I forget, my thread is Tex 45 from Emmeline Bags. It's the Fusion nylon bonded thread, and this color is in burnt orange. And so some of the prep that I'm going to be doing is, I've done some of it. And before I forget, I'm going to try to remember to post these in the description box below. So I went and purchased this kit, this toolbox for grommets. I've never done grommets. And this I got from Amazon, so I will post the link. And it comes with this really great case. It comes with the tool to not only press your grommets into your material, but it also cuts them at the same time if it's not too thick. And it comes with 2 other die sizes. So I think 6mm, 8mm. This is the 10mm that's on here. And that's the size grommets that are you're to use in this pattern. And then in this kit, it comes with all of these different grommets. Now they're all nickel. That's what I'm going to be using. My hardware is going to be gunmetal. But it also comes with all these different punches for the different hole size. It doesn't come with the anvil, but it comes with the different size. Like this is the 10mm. So it comes with, that's the front part. And then this is going to be the underside part, the washer. So they do come with 2 pieces. This one is, like I said, 6mm, 8mm, and 10mm. So I will post this on my Amazon, or I'll post the Amazon link. I don't have an Amazon store anymore. I don't think I set it up right, but that is a really, really cool toolbox to have. Excuse me. All right, so one of the preps that I started to do, I wanted to show you, is I started putting my purse feet on. Also in the pattern this pattern does have a lot of prep before we even get to sewing. There's a lot of marks and a lot of prep. And so for this one, now one of the things is that in the pattern piece, it's hard to see, but she has like a little notch. And then of course, if you remember on your tissue paper patterns for your clothing, the notch went up and out, but these are that you cut in. I don't do that. So what I use is, because I like to be able to, when I draw my lines, I do it old. I can't cut with a rotary cutter around my patterns. Like I laminate all my pattern pieces, but so I still trace and cut by hand. And I use this notcher. So whenever I mark my centers, so I cut it out of the pattern piece, and then what that does is when you lay your pattern piece, I'll lay it upside down, when you lay your pattern piece over top of your material, then with this notch you can draw your center mark right in it, right there, and it makes it so much easier. It's the same as with when I have magnetic snap holes or purse feet holes. I punch those holes and then trace them. Well, I've already put these purse feet on, but I trace them on. So I'll post the link for this notcher as well. It's just so handy. Bang it around. And then also scissors. I bought these are Kai scissors. I bought these scissors from Lens Mills, and they're not expensive Kais. They're a 1230 is the number on them. I still have to sharpen these, and I was using these as my fabric scissors. You want to invest in a really good pair of fabric scissors because it really makes a difference in how clean your cut edges are. And I went and did invest in a pair of these 7230 Kai scissors from Amazon, and I'll link them as well. One thing that's nice is that they're flat here, so that when you cut your fabric, they run along the your table edge. They are carbon steel, stainless steel. they cut like butter. They cut through layers like butter. And you know when you're cutting wrapping paper and you have a decent pair of scissors and you can run your scissors straight along your wrapping paper without having to cut and snip? These do that with your fabric. I was so excited. Anyhow, it's always worth your while to invest in a really good pair of scissors. I think these were $79 Canadian. They're probably not the most expensive Kai scissors, but I was looking at all different brands and I thought I would go with these. My hands don't hurt. They have a rubberized handle. They don't hurt. I don't get hot spots on my fingers or anything like that. I did have a pair when I first started out bag making. I had a pair of Pfister's fabric scissors, and I used to get hot spots and blisters just from the handles. These ones, when you're cutting, you're not fighting. You're not having to snip, 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 and you're not having to fight with it. So it is worthwhile getting a very good pair of fabric scissors. And apparently these ones don't need to be sharpened as often, I'm hoping. Alrighty, so with those little kind of tools, I'm going to finish off with my base piece of the bag. So on the back, I've marked where the markings on the back for my centers on the sides and the front and the top and bottom. And I've put 2 layers of woven interfacing here to give it a little bit more stable bottom. So the woven interfacing that I use is from Emmeline Bags. It is the EB Fuse Heavy. And once you have ironed this on, it's really, really stiff. So this kind of 2 layers of this EB Fuse Heavy gives you pretty much the equivalent of a Decaville Heavy. 1 layer is a Decaville Light. So I've already gone and put my 4 purse feet on, and I have my hole punched. So I'm going to put the other piece on, but I wanted to show you what I do just so that you keep an eye out on it. So I popped it through the hole. Now I can't take credit for this. I have spent hours trying to pull these prongs apart. I've broken nails and everything. And then I saw this on YouTube. Some brilliant person used their staple remover and just popped the staple remover into these and just kind of popped it open. I can't tell you how many nails I've broken and how many times it's taken me to open up these prongs because they're hard to grab hold of. So I just popped my washer over top. I just popped the prongs into the hole in the center of the purse foot. Now watch where you open. I open my prongs wide open like butterfly wings. So watch where you open your prongs. If you open them this way and it's close to, say, this is the edge of the fabric, when you open those prongs, it's going to be in the way of your edge. So I just like to keep an eye on where I'm going to open them and make sure that it's not going to wind up in any of my stitch lines. So say if like I said, if that was the edge of your fabric, you'd be sewing over top of that. So I just kind of make sure that it's the prongs, because these prongs are longer than your magnetic snap prongs. And I just open them so that I make sure that they aren't in any way of my stitch line. And I'm just going to put a piece of duct tape over top just to protect the prongs. So protect any fabric like the lining. And there we have our purse feet on our piece G, which you have 1 exterior of. So now we're going to move on to, I'm going to work on our piece H, which is the drawstring tab. Now this is the piece, I'm not going to show the measurements, but the piece is oval like this. So what I have done is I've just cut 2 rough rectangles, and then I've traced that around the drawstring tab. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch, I'm just going to put the center toe of my presser foot, and I'm just going to sew on the inside of that line for the drawstring tab. pull my threads to the back. So this is going to be the underside because I've used my pen, and I'm going to pull my threads to the underside and tie them off there. And I do hand crank around the curves. You can tell the humidity, the humidity's come out today. All right, so I'm just going to get my stylus and I'm going to pull those threads. First set of threads. And what I do is I take those threads and tie them so I know which ones I've already pulled. These are pretty long. Okay. And snip these threads. Hold on to the ones that I'm already going to be pulling next. Okay, then I'll tie them off on the underside. And I always do a double knot in each hole, just to make sure it stays secure and doesn't open up as you tie it. Burn those threads. Okay. So there's the right side and there's the wrong side, and I'm going to trim just all on the inside of that stitching. I'm going to see how my Kai threads work out because they are bigger than what I'm used to using. All right, so we'll trim this. And with these Kai threads, I do get a cleaner cut. Even going around curves. I may invest in a smaller set. I've been looking at the smaller ones just so I can do some finer cutting. Like when you do your zipper boxes and things like this where you're going around curves and you want to make sure your curves are nice. Okay. All right, so there's our piece, and this is pretty good edging, and I'm just going to take my black Sharpie. I'm not edge coating, but I'm just going to take my black Sharpie and I'm going to edge coat it with that so that it has a finished look to it and not a raw edge. All right, there's our very quick edge coating. Very nice. All right, we'll just put this aside for the moment. And then we're going to work on our pattern piece F, which are the D-ring connectors. And you have 2 exterior cut. So I have followed the pattern directions and I've interfaced it down the center, drawn my lines where the interfacing is, and then I am going to be folding over these raw edges to meet in the center. on both pieces. All right, now she's very specific in, usually when we do D-ring connectors, we just sew down each side, but we're going to sew across the short ends, down the sides, across the short end and up the sides. And I will be tying my threads to the back. And top stitching at 1/8 inch seam allowance. Okay, I'm just going to trim the edges just to make sure that they're straight. All right, so there are our 2 D-ring connectors. And we'll put those aside for the moment. Now this is the drawstring. So it's a certain measurement in the pattern. I've marked the center line, double-sided tape on both sides, and fold the raw edges into the center. So they're folded into the center. Then I like to just run another strip of double-sided tape on the inside edge of one of the sides. So, and then to fold it over so that it'll stick in place and not slip. All right, and then we will fold that over in half and then stitch together at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. So just folding it in on itself, making sure the folded edges meet. Okay, just like that. And then I'll stitch down this side where the 2 folds meet, and I'll stitch all that at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. My stitch length is at 3.5 right now. I have my ceiling fan on, so I have to burn my ends down here where it's not going to blow it. Okay, there is our drawstring, and we're going to be putting zipper ends on to finish off the look. And I'll do that at the very end after we put the drawstring on. So we have that done. Now we're going to work on the shoulder strap. So this is optional whether you want to have, it has the grab handles. You could make your handles longer to make it a shoulder bag like that. So this is mine. This bag's going to have the handles as grab handles, and then it's going to have a shoulder strap. It's not an adjustable shoulder strap, so we're just make it just like we did with the oh, good grief. So we're making it just like we did with the drawstring. So draw edges folded into the center. All right, so I've taken the two raw edges, folded them into the center. I'm going to top stitch all down each outer edge at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, and then from that stitch line, I'm going to stitch in towards the center 1/4 of an inch on either side. When I make my straps, to ensure that this doesn't start to twist, I will always start at the top edge, sew down one side, start at the top edge, sew down the other side, and so on. And that will prevent your strap from twisting. And we will be putting strap ends on the ends of this strap. All right, so there is our strap. All right, so now we're going to be working on our handles, and I've already done one, and I'll do the other one with you. So this is what it's going to look like. It's the first time I've done a rolled handle top. So that's going to be the top part of our handles, and then that's going to be the strips that go down as a feature across the front and the back that we will sew on. So in the pattern, there's a measurement for your handle measurement. Mark your centers, your center line, and then at certain points there are specific marks to put a reinforcement scrap piece on the inside towards the center of the handle for rivet placement, and that is on both sides. So specific measurements. And double-sided taped down both sides. So we're just at the moment going to fold the two raw edges into the center of the double-sided tape, just like a regular strap, handle, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so we have our raw edges folded down to the center. All right, so after we have folded our raw edges into the center, then there is a specific measurement for the seam allowance to sew down one side of your handle and down the other side of the handle. And I will start at the top of this one and then start at the top of this side when I sew them. And I will need my seam guide to see what I'm doing. Okay. All right, so now we have our two seams, our two top stitching, certain measurement from each edge done. And now in the pattern, from each short edge, there's a measurement to measure down and to draw a line. And I do it on both sides so I can see it easier. These are very faint. I did these with my pencil because I know that I can rub it off with a baby wipe. And there's the other line on this end, and it's on the underside here. So we put double-sided tape. I'm putting a 1/4 inch wide double-sided tape in between those two marks on the wrong side. And I'm putting it along that center line where we have our two raw edges folded. And take the backing off. And then fold those two edges together at that line, ensuring that your folded edges meet. Even though it's taped, it's best to clip it. So I'm learning myself two new skills today. I have never made a rolled handle before like this, and I have never used grommets. So we're always learning something new in bag making. All right, and I have it clipped to this mark between each marks. And then I'm going to do a 1/8 inch top stitching to along that folded edge. Making sure that I back stitch at the before and after to secure it. And that first set of stitching that we did at a certain measurement, it will make it now look like it has been top stitched on both edges. Find my line. And just take my lighter to those thread ends. And just a baby wipe to mark off those pencil marks, which will come off quite nicely. You can barely see them as it is. All right, so now we have our two handles, our two rolled handles, and then I'll be back with the next step. All right, so now we're going to be working on the front and back center pockets and the side pockets. So you need your piece C, the center pocket, and your piece D, the side pockets. And you have two exterior for each of these pattern pieces and two linings. On the center pocket piece C, it's shorter, narrower on the top, wider on the bottom. And on your pattern piece, on your pattern piece D, the side pocket, it's wider on the top and narrower on the bottom. And then there is a specific measurement in the pattern that you mark down from the top edge to here, double-sided tape across the top raw edge, and then all the top edges will be folded to this line. I've already folded them on the front pieces. This is the side pieces I'm working on right now. Okay, just like that. On the exterior and the lining. Now on the lining piece, take your 1/8 inch double-sided tape. Just run a strip just below that folded edge on the lining pieces. Okay. And then we're going to be putting wrong sides together with the lining and the exterior. And the lining is going to be just below that folded edge of the exterior. So make sure that your raw edges on the sides are lined up. So it's probably going to be about 1/16 of an inch just below that folded edge of the exterior. Your lining piece will peek out on the other side, so just like that. And it will be a little touch longer. So do that with all of your pieces. And the front center piece is where you're going to think about putting your bag tag if you have one. And I have already put my bag tag on the front of the center pocket. Okay, so we're going to top stitch across the top edge at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and then baste all the way around our raw edges on all 4 pieces. All right, so after you have all of your pieces top stitched across the top and then basted down all the 3 raw edges, just trim up your extra little bit that's overhanging here. Oops. All right, so get your pattern piece B, the back panel piece. You have 1 exterior. In the pattern, there is a measurement. Make sure that, so there is a measurement of what to measure up from the bottom edge to this point and draw a line across, a horizontal line, with an erasable marker or chalk. And then with your center marks, line those 2 up and then draw an intersecting vertical line on that piece. And then on your pattern piece A, the front panel, there's a lot of marking on this panel. So we have, I've already marked where my strap placement is going to go. And then the same measurement as we did on the back panel piece, from the bottom to this point, we draw a horizontal line right across. And then at each center marking where your notches are, just mark, hold a ruler to match up these 2 marks, and then draw intersecting vertical center line across this for the sides. You're going to do it the same for the center, and you're going to do the same for the other side. So with your the 2 front center pockets and the 2 side center pockets, put double-sided tape down the bottom of each edge. This will help hold it onto your front panel. And you can use some painter's tape or masking tape if you like, but I'm just using double-sided tape. It just makes it easier. All right, so now with your center pocket that has your bag tag on, take the double-sided tape backing off. And then we're going to make sure that your center marks are marked, and I have a removable marker here. And line this stitched edge up with that horizontal line. And your center mark on your pocket lines up with the center vertical line intersecting that horizontal line. And that's where you get your pocket placement. And the double-sided tape will hold that down. And then I'm just going to baste around these 3 raw edges. Just 1/8 of an inch seam allowance only. Okay, so just like that, we lined everything up, and we have our center pocket stitched on, and then I'm going to do the same for the side pockets. Ensure that when you do line up the top edge, it is in alignment with the center one. And baste that on. You'll have to probably roll it a bit. All right, so there is the front. Doesn't that look great together? These two contrasting but same colors. And then we're going to do the same with your pattern piece B, the back panel. And line up your back piece. Double side tape's coming off, doesn't want to stick. Double-sided tape doesn't want to stick. It's too muggy. like a kid getting glue all over my hands. All right, get the hyper stick out. That'll stick onto the nylon. All right, line up the centers, the top center along that line, and baste it. All right, so there is our back pocket, and we have our front done, and I'll be back. Okay, so we're going to start attaching our handles to this front panel. And on your finished handles, there's a measurement to measure from the base, the bottom of your handle to this point, and do it on both sides of your strap as well as the other handle. And then on the wrong side, the line that you mark, put double-sided tape down one up from the bottom up to that mark, and then take the backing off. And then we're going to take this and line it up over top of the raw edges of our side pocket and front pocket, and line it up. There is a line in the pattern marking on the front panel of where to place that strap, and we're only going to sew up to that point. So ensure that your double-sided tape doesn't want to stick. All right, so ensure that your handle covers both the raw edges of your pockets. Center it and line it up with the marking that was on the pattern piece, and that'll help you get it centered over top of your side and center pocket, because it is on an angle. Okay, and then we're going to top stitch down this side, and we're going to end it at that mark. Now you can back stitch, or you can tie your threads to the back. I'm going to tie my threads to the back. I will back stitch down at the bottom edge, but I'll tie my threads at the top where they can be seen. And I'll do them together with the other side. Okay. Flip it over to the wrong side up, and I get my stylus, pull my threads. Oops. And then I tie my threads. And that just gives a more of a finished look on the front of the bag or on the right side of the bag, so you don't see any back stitching. And trim off these at the bottom. All right, so there is one handle sewn on. So then we're going to feed this around. Oops. Feed this around so that the handle will be sitting the right side up, and then do the same with the other side of the strap. That looks really nice. Okay, and then I'll stitch that on at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance on both sides, and then I'll tie my threads at the top. Oops, getting caught. Now this vinyl that I am using from Sam Fabric Creation, it does have some stretch to it. Okay, and flip the threads, turn these guys off first. And tie your threads off. And then just get my baby wipe and wipe off those marks that I made. Okay, and I've already wiped off all the other marks. So there's our front handle. And I've already wiped off all of these other markings that were on here. I hope I don't need them, but I've kept my center marks still. All right, and we'll be back. All right, so we have our handle attached to the front panel. Now with the back panel, we will attach it now to the side. So starting on the right hand side, put right sides together and clip your top edge and all your side raw edges. And I just like to fold it open just to make sure that these two top edges of the slip pockets that we've made will match, and they are. All right, so we're now going to stitch down this raw edge at the 3/8 inch seam allowance that's in the pattern. It is on a bit of an angle. All right, and then open it up. Beautiful. Open up your seam allowance on the wrong side and finger press it down, and then I'm going to top stitch this down on either side of the stitch line and top stitch that seam open to reduce bulk. All right, just like that. And there's a measurement in the pattern on attaching the second handle. So we already have the marks where it's supposed to go. It gives you a measurement on either side, I think 1/2 inch on either side of the raw edges. I'm just going to center mine directly in between these two handles, center this strap. And I'll center the strap along the seam, just up to this point, and it's on an angle as well. Make sure it catches. Oops. Might take a little bit of finagling just to make sure that you get it caught in there and that you don't see the stitching on from your sides. Just up to that point, and then we're going to top stitch along here just to this point and along this side just to that point, and tie the threads to the back. I forgot to mention that when you have the handle laid down, make sure that it's the left side of the handle that you're putting on first. And then we'll top stitch the other side. All right, flip it to the wrong side up. Oh, there it is. These bottom threads off. Okay, and then tie your threads off. All right, and we have this part of the handle on as well, and just let me I'll wipe that off at the end. All right, so the next part is to join up these sides and clip them, and then we'll stitch at the 3/8 inch seam allowance, and then we will open it up and top stitch, and that's going to be a little more challenging because we will already have it sewn up. All right, sew that at 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, now to top stitch, open up your seam allowance. I'm going to put double-sided tape on either side of there just to hold it into place, make it easier to top stitch. So I'm just going to put it on either side of the seam allowance, just because we have to top stitch from the inside. And this will help hold your seam allowance down. Okay, and fold your seam allowance down. And the same on the other side. And then we're going to top stitch on either side of that seam. Top stitch it at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Folding your fabric back out of the way on the top as you go. It's a little challenging, but you can do it. That's why it's handy to use the double-sided tape to hold those that seam allowance down. We gotta get it out. Just trim this off for here. Okay, and then just trim off at the bottom. And then do again for the other side to top stitch it down. Most of this top stitching you won't see because the handle will cover it, but you will see it on the top part of the bag. Ooh, didn't want to do that. Just getting it out is kind of tricky. Okay, then we get to attach the other handle. So turn it right side out. Turning things right side out is not my forte. I get challenged. So you can kind of see the size of the bag. It's not a super huge bag and it's not too small. All right. So feed your handle around, and then we're going to put that, make sure this handle is up and out of the way. This is going to be challenging as well to sew this on over top. Okay, and then just line this up, center that over top of your seam allowance. Make sure that your two sides raw edges of your pockets are covered with the handle. You don't see any top stitching. And that they meet at the top. So I'm going to line up my two bottom center marks, lay it flat, and then kind of adjust this over a bit. And then our handles meet. All right, so I'm now going to top stitch on either side of here. I'll turn it inside out again and do it that way. Sure did, nothing moved. Okay. Make sure everything is laying flat. And then we're sewing it up to that mark. And then leaving the threads long, the tails long, so that we can tie them. If I can get it out. Wow, that is challenging, but we can do it. Okay, and then we will go up the other side. I don't need to leave the bottom threads long because we can back stitch at the bottom. All these threads. Okay, let's see where we are. All right, let's cut all these bottom threads. And then we'll pull these top threads and tie them off. Make sure you guys can see it. I'm at a closer angle. My stylus gets caught on the thread. Okay. All right, turn it back right side out and see what we have so far. Okay, that's what we have so far. All right, we're going to work on attaching our bottom to the bag. So have your main body construction that we just did, have that turned wrong side out. I have my bottom centers marked here, handles line up, and take your pattern piece E, the exterior top and bottom panel, and the bottom panel doesn't have any markings on. The top part of the panel has your grommet markings, and this has your I use the Emmeline Bags EB Fuse Woven Heavy, and that's the equivalent of Decaville Light. So take your raw, you've got your top edges marked, put right sides together and clip. And I'm just going to clip both ends, and then we're going to sew that at the 3/8 inch seam allowance. And then we're going to top stitch those seam allowances that we've just stitched. Ouch. Stab myself here. Okay, open up your seam, splay it open, and then we're going to top stitch down each side of that seam. And do it for the other side as well. All right, so we have our centers marked. Turning it this way so that right side is out on your bottom piece. And your center marks, your back and front center marks, feed it in with those center marks closest to you. Feed it to the inside of your bag so that you have right sides together. And then we're going to clip those together. So clip all your center marks at the front and your center marks at the back and the side seams. All right, so I have the front and backs clipped, and the bottom piece is a little larger than the bag, so I'm just going to snip into the bag to make it so that I can ease into the little bit it's to make it fit. And I'll do that on both sides, so because both sides were like that. That's why there was that little bit of extra at the bottom of your pockets. You have a little bit of extra, so it gives you some room to maneuver. So I'm going to take this seam that we just stitched and I'm going to line it up with the side center mark and clip, and then ease those into it. I might have to clip a little bit more to the edge of this panel. Okay, and then just kind of ease it around and clip. And then do the same for the other side. Okay, I already snipped that one. Right, and we'll ease that one in as well. Line up that center mark and clip. All right, and we have it all fitting in there, and I'll be back. All right, so we will be stitching this all on at the seam allowance in the pattern, and then we will be top stitching it, turning it and top stitching it. Okay. Pull your bottom piece out. All right, so this wants to naturally fall down towards the bottom, and I'm going to top stitch along here. And I'll be pulling my threads to the back. Okay, pull the threads here. I'm going to tie these ones off now. Oh no, sorry. Just tie them this way so I know I've pulled these guys. right, and then tie off your threads. Okay, so now we're going to be attaching our side strap connectors or D-ring connectors to our bag. So we have our sides marked. I have them marked on the inside and on the outside, and that's on the pattern piece as well. And then we're going to take our pattern piece F, the connector piece that we've already made our D-ring connectors. Now in the pattern, there's a certain measurement for the top, or to measure down from the top from one short edge to this mark, punch holes in the center, and then on these short ends, a certain measurement to punch holes, and those are for the rivet placements. So we are going to put these right sides together with this hole closest to the top edge of the bag. So center your D-ring connector onto the bag, right sides together on both sides. And we're going to base these on. Just make sure that they're on there straight. All right, so we'll just base them on the right side. Beautiful. All right, so now we're going to be taking pattern piece E, the exterior top portion. We've already attached the bottom part to the bag. And this is the one where we have our grommet holes marked on the right side of our panels. So ensure you know what your top is. Make sure I have marked the centers on my top and bottom, and I've marked my top with a T, and that's where you have the measurement in our prep from the top edge of the raw edge to this certain point here. So with the top edges lined up, put right sides together. Clip your side seams. Now on these pieces, there is a measurement in the pattern. It's not marked on the actual pattern piece. But in the pattern, not only is there this measurement here, but on the sides of all of these pieces, there's certain marks that you measure down from the top and then down from there, and you draw little lines on all the ends of your pieces. And what that is going to do is when we stitch these seams together, we stitch them at 3/8 inch seam allowance, but we are going to stop at this one mark and back stitch, and then we'll start again at this spot, back stitch, and go sew to the end and back stitch. And what this little space that we're going to be leaving creates is the hole to put your rivets in for your D-ring connector, so that we're not punching through the stitching and wrecking our stitching. So I'm just going to extend those lines a little bit. All right, so we're just going to first of all stitch this one side, and then I'm going to open it up to top stitch. And I'm sewing down to that one mark and back stitching. And then I'll start at the other mark, back stitch. Okay, so this is what it looks like. You have a little space here in your stitching, and we're going to open up that seam allowance, and then I'm going to top stitch on either side. I apologize for the noise in the background. The air conditioning has just come on and it's very loud. I didn't realize how loud it was. And of course my air conditioning vent is right under here. All right, so there is what we have, and you can just see the little opening there of where our rivet is going to go. And then we repeat for this side, do exactly the same thing. Okay. All right, so this is the top side. Now we're going to take our bag, turn the bag inside out, so wrong side out. Okay. Handles, tuck them inside so that they're out of the way, and your D-ring connectors as well. So I have the top closest to me. We're going to be doing right side to right side, so your bag is turned wrong side out and your facing is right side out. Okay, this is the top edge, which is closest to the raw edge of this top edge of the bag. That's how we're going to be tucking it in, so that the bottom edge is going to be closest to you. And then we're going to line up all our centers. We'll tuck it inside here. And then we'll start clipping our centers and our side notches. Lining up our raw seams, our raw edges. Okay, so we have this all clipped together. I'll be sewing this all around at the 3/8 inch seam allowance. Then we'll flip it and top stitch it. All right, so now that we have our top grommet facing on the exterior, we're going to top stitch. I did it wrong because the seam naturally wants to go up towards the top. That's how I top stitched on. So yes, I definitely do make mistakes. So I picked that all out. What I'm hoping is that when everything is completed and the grommets are in and the grommet tie, the drawstring is pulled tight, this will all get all squished up and you won't see the stitch holes. Anyhow, your seam wants to naturally go up for when we do the top stitching, which is what I did here. I did it wrong, didn't follow directions. It needs to go down in towards the center of the bag. So you're going to be pushing it down as you top stitch around this folded edge, below this folded edge, which means your D-ring connectors will be pointing up and then your right side will be showing. So we're going to do that. I'm going to pull the threads to the back and I will be going slow to make sure that this seam stays down. Now, another way to make sure that it stays down is you could put like double-sided tape on this underside and fold it down. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to try and do it the right way this time. But I'll leave my threads long and I will top stitch along that proper edge, making sure also that, like I said, that my D-ring connectors are facing up. So I will be going slow, ensuring that I have that seam tucked down towards the center of the bag. It can get bulky over those D-ring connectors and in some areas, depending on the fabrics that you have used. What I use, I never seem to be able to use a hump jumper right. So I just use my knee lift and just lift the presser foot a little bit and then just kind of hand crank it over that hump here, the higher, thicker spot, and that gets me over that spot fairly easily. Alrighty, so now we're going to attach our handles all the way. Right now they kind of flop. So with your bag turned wrong side out, I've already done 3 of the handles and I'll walk you through how I'm going to do this one. On the back, put a little tiny piece of double-sided tape. I've taken the backing off already, and then line up your handle. And what we will do is we're going to pull the threads to the back. So starting right where we left off, threads left long at the back, we're going to stitch up here and across, stop where that top stitching is along this edge, stitch across to this point and then down till we finish here, and then we will tie our threads to the back. Little awkward getting in there, but we can do it. So I just line up my needle in the last stitch point. So it'll continue up. It's just a little bit of stitching. We've got like almost 4 stitches. Just go slow. Okay, I get my handle out from underneath my walking foot. All right, pull your threads to the back on both sides and then tie them off. All right, more noise. Air conditioning just came on. Oh, there it is. And then burn your threads. All right. So this is how it looks when it's finished. Looking at it from the inside. You can't tell where you started and stopped, and then you've gone across in line with this stitching across here and come down, and we did that for all four. So that kind of holds that in place. All right, so now we are going to work on pattern piece G, the base, exterior base. And I already have all my purse feet on, and I have 2 layers of Emmeline bags, a EB Fuse heavy woven interfacing to kind of make it the equivalent of Decafil heavy. I have all of my center marks marked, and so I'm going to start with my side. We're going to put right sides together, so keep your bag wrong side out. We're going to put our base inside, and I'm going to line up my side markings with the side seams. Just want to lower my stitch length. I had a top stitching. Okay, and then we will clip and clip and clip. So I'll clip that straight edge of the end, and I didn't mark my centers on the bottom here. Let's see if I can work it. Okay, let me just see if I can quickly mark my centers. It looks about right on that side. Line up my side seams and then mark on this side. Okay. Alrighty, line up. And just keep clipping. Use a lot of clips if you have to. I have to do it down here so I can see better with my glasses. Now when we get to that curve, we may have to snip around here. So I'm just going to clip the straight edges at the moment. It's falling into place beautifully, so I'll just keep clipping. When you're clipping at something like this on a curve, have your base piece kind of concave in, and then that helps to ease it around those edges. And I really should have this center clipped as well to make that easier. Kind of concaved in like a bowl. Let's see how this is going to fit. A lot of clips around your curves. This faux leather has a lot of stretch to it, so I can get that stretched around the base without having to clip. Without any puckers. And the last curve. Okay. All right, so we're going to stitch all the way around the base at our 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, and I'll be back stitching at the beginning and the end. Don't need to pull our threads through on this one. Go slow. Oops. All right, so after I sewed the 3/8 inch seam allowance on the base, I did another set of stitches just from the original seam, about a 1/16 of an inch out, and did another secure stitching around, and then I trimmed the seam allowance off, about an 1/8 of an inch off. Then what we do is on the top side of the bag, we put double-sided tape all the way around the top perimeter, and then we're going to fold the raw edge down to this line that we've already drawn from our prep, because this is a drop-in bag. So we'll just do that. There we go. I'm using my Waywack Hyper Stick tape just to make sure it stays, but I'll probably have to clip those side seams. All right, fold down to that line. I'm just going to clip this up. This is such a pretty bag. It's going to be really nice. All right, and just fold down. Now the Hyper Stick should stick without lifting up. But if yours lifts up, then clip it for now to hold it in place. All right, just like that, and hopefully that will stay and it won't lift off. Okay, now in the prep we had, you should have 2 little scraps of 3/4 inch by 3/4 inch left over. The first 4 we used, I believe, on the handles. And there's double-sided tape on the back of each one. What we need to do is on the side seams, this is where we have that little hole for the rivet, which should line up with this rivet. So I'm going to take the backing off of one of the little squares, and we're going to have to punch a hole in the little square when we get everything lined up. So I'm going to take my stylus, glue or something all over it. Okay. Put your stylus through the hole right here. Find where that little opening is that we've left unstitched. And then I'm going to stick this little piece will be lined up right underneath that folded seam allowance. So I'm just going to pull that back a bit. I'm going to lay that down on there. Pop that through. And then I'm going to use my press, or my hole puncher. Gummed up. All right, pop that through again, through that little hole, line this up. Ouch, don't stab yourself like I just did. All right, and that should line everything up beautifully for when we do go to set the rivets on that one side. This is pretty unique. It's a great way to do your rivets. It's a little time consuming, but this bag is pretty intricate. A lot of neat ideas in it. Okay, put the stylus through my rivet hole and that opening. Okay, and I'll punch my rivet hole, and that way we know that everything will line up. Just like so. Okay, and I'm just going to clip that on there just to hold it in place. Okay, so this is where we are at right now, and we'll start on the lining. And now we're going to start working on our lining. So we get one of your pattern piece L, the lining panel, and you need one of those. You need your pattern piece M, the interior zipper pocket lining. You have one of those. And on the right side, I have double-sided tape on the top and the bottom of that piece. You'll need your pattern piece K, your zipper overlay, and I have done mine in the contrast as sunflower faux leather. And I have double-sided tape on the top and bottom edge of each of these. So, and then you'll need your number 5 zipper tape, and I have zipper pull already on, and I have double-sided tape on the top and bottom edge of the zipper. So in the pattern, there is a measurement from the top edge. I haven't marked my centers, but I should do that to be on the safe side. Mark them top and bottom. Okay, so right side up of your lining, you have these two edges that kind of stick out. That's the top edge of your lining. And measure down a certain measurement in the pattern. A big ruler, I think. Oh, my short one. There's a certain measurement to measure from the top down of where we're going to place our zipper overlay and center it. So take your backing off your double-sided tape. A little hard for me to see because it's black. Okay. All right. And I'll just fold this in half and make a center mark. Okay. And then just line it up against your ruler. And we are going to stitch all the way around the outer edge of that. I'm not going to worry about pulling my threads since this is inside. Okay. All right, and there we have it stitched on, nice looking against the black. So then we're just going to cut away this fabric here underneath the overlay. So I just fold it in half, and I take my sharp scissors and just cut a line. It's almost like doing a zipper box, but cut your lining up underneath that overlay. We just want to cut it away from the zipper box of the zipper casing, or zipper, what's it called? The zipper overlay. I always mess that name up. So we're just going to snip on the wrong side. I fold this up, give it a bit of a press, and then just snip that excess away. Doesn't have to be pretty, just as long as you can't see it in that zipper box. All right, just like that, and the ugly side just like that. All right, take your zipper, take off your backing of your double-sided tape. My zipper might be too long and I'll have to trim it down. So I have my zipper pulling to the left, closing to the left. And I just lay that down on my desk. Yikes, my tape is sticking to me. And then I'll just take my overlay and center that over top of that zipper. Air conditioning noise. Been hearing that all summer, I think. Make sure I've done it better this time. Yeah, okay. Okay, so we have our zipper centered in the zipper overlay, and flip it to the wrong side. Take your pattern piece M, your interior zipper pocket lining, and on the top edge, take your zipper, your double-sided tape backing off, and then lay your right side down along your zipper and center that over top of your zipper and where we've stitched the overlay on. Okay, so flip it to this side. So now we have the zipper lining going up this way. So we're going to sew the bottom of the zipper overlay first. So I will start about 1/8 of an inch on this side of the short edge, stitch across 1/8 of an inch across the bottom edge of the zipper and end here, and that'll secure the bottom edge of the zipper. And I'll back stitch because it's just on the inside. Pull your zipper pull out of the way if you need to. Okay. All right, on the bottom edge, just to hold this piece down in place, just put some double-sided tape along that bottom edge, or that raw edge, and that will help when we fold it down. It'll help keep the lining down, the zipper lining. All right, fold that down. Make sure my zipper is closed. All right, you don't have to pull it super tight, but just make sure it's snug and not bulging anywhere. Okay, and then take the double-sided tape off the bottom end, which is now the top, and fold that up to in line with the top edge of your zipper, ensuring that your side edges of your lining, pocket lining, are in alignment with each other and one's not off center. All right, now just give that a quick fold. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start where we ended here and sew up along the side of the zipper box across the top edge and then down here. Make sure you line up your needle right where you ended, and I will back stitch. I'll back stitch over top of the zipper teeth. All right, and we have it looking like this. So now we need to fold away our sides and then stitch down this side and then the other side as well. And I will back stitch over top of my teeth as well, and we'll seal up the sides of our zipper pocket. Okay, and I'm just going to burn the ends of that zipper a little bit better, just to make sure it doesn't fray. Actually, I can trim those ends off, trim the zipper ends off, and burn them. That one's okay. Alrighty. So there is our zipper pocket. Very nice. And we will move on to the slip pocket now. All right, so time to work on the interior slip pocket. So you will require your remaining piece L, the lining pocket, or lining panel. And again, this is the top edge where we have these little angles. So that's the top. You will require your pattern piece N, the slip pocket, and she gives you measurements. This is the top and the bottom, and there's a 1-inch line to draw on either side, and then double-sided tape on that. And then your slip pocket trim, your pattern piece J, and draw your center line and then double-sided tape on either side of that. All right, so starting with pattern piece N, your slip pocket, take the double-sided tape off of both edges and fold those raw edges to the line. And do that for both sides. And then double-sided tape across the top edge. To find it. Okay. And then take your bottom edge and fold it up to the top edge with the double-sided tape, ensuring before you lay anything down that your side folded edges match and are even. And then I just nail press that seam in there. So this is what we have so far. And then take your pattern piece J, your slip pocket trim, take the double-sided tape off of the front and the top and the bottom. And line this raw edge and your side edges. You could probably center it because you will be trimming a little bit off. There you go. All right. And we will top stitch across that raw edge. And trim off your excess ends. And just burn those ends a little bit, especially if there's a little thread hanging out there. All right, so this is what we have so far. And take your lining piece, and there's a specific measurement to measure from the bottom up of where to lay the bottom edge of your pocket. Okay, so what I'm going to do is put double-sided tape across the bottom edge, folded edge of the pocket, and that'll help it stick into place. Okay, that's the top edge, and I'll take my backing off and then get my ruler and measure. And I didn't mark my centers on this. Oh, you think you get everything prepped, and there's always something little that you miss. Okay. From the bottom up, we have a specific measurement. Put that in the center. And let me fold this right sides together to get a center crease. And I've got the tape on. All right. Perfect. All right, so I will be top stitching down all the edges across the bottom and up that side. All right. And there's our slip pocket. All right, I'll be back. All right, so carrying on with our lining, you're going to now need pattern piece I, the interior top panel, and you have 2 exteriors for that. And it also has the marking for your magnetic snap. I've already installed the male and female portion of the magnetic snap on the male here, the female here. It doesn't matter in this case. And then also on these pieces, you have a measurement for that top line that we're going to fold over. And then those little marks again here where we're going to sew when we eventually get to that point, sew down to that back stitch, start again here, back stitch, and that. So we'll get to that point. So with your centers marked top and bottom on both these pieces, just take one of your lining pieces, it doesn't matter which one, and ensure that the line, this line here, is pointing towards you. Line up your centers, so your bottom edge centers, and clip across at the raw edges. And do that for the other piece as well. Okay, and I'm just going to move my zipper into the center here, and that goes that way. Line up centers. Okay, and we will sew across this edge at our 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. And do the same for the other piece. Okay, and then we're going to fold it down. So the seam allowance will fold down into the lining side, and we'll top stitch across this edge. All right. So there is our one zipper pocket, nicely top stitched, and our slip pockets lining nicely top stitched, and I'll be back. All right, so now we're going to take the right sides of our two lining pieces and put right sides together. Line up your two seams, top stitch seams, clip. And when we do eventually stitch down here, there's no need to decrease or increase our seam allowance here, because this is why she has made this little cutout here, which is really, really sharp. So clip down all of your sides. On both sides. And when I put my pieces together, my magnetic snaps automatically clipped together too. Okay, now we do have these marks. So when we do start stitching down here, we will end, I have to make my lines a little longer to accommodate the seam allowance. The rivets where we had the little holes on the exterior will still have to go through the lining. So we will have to stitch down to this point, back stitch, and then start again here, back stitch, and then down the sides. And we'll do that on both sides at the seam allowance in the pattern. All right, and then down here there's a knit where there's a little indent, and I'm just going to snip that. So that when we eventually open our seam allowance, it won't be in the way here. And you can see that we do have that little hole somewhere. It's really tiny, but it's there. And on this side as well. Very tiny. And I'm just going to trim these side seams just to that point where I made that little snip. All right, so get your pattern piece O, your lining base. And with right sides together, we will clip that on. Line up your centers, line up your side seam with your marks on the base. So we will stitch the base on, the lining base on at the 3/8 inch seam allowance in the pattern. All right, and then I'm just going to trim that seam allowance down to about 1/8 of an inch. All right, we're on the home stretch now. So with the lining, on either side of the seam allowance on the sides, put double-sided tape on each edge, each end, butterfly, open up your seam allowance and stick it to your facing, and do that on both sides. Then put double-sided tape all around the top edge. I got 1/4 inch double-sided tape. Peel that back, and then we're going to fold that top raw edge to the line. And we're getting there, guys. Just fold my sides down, my side seams down first. Line them up. I'll clip them. You will be fighting with your magnetic snap. It does want to clip and snap closed. All right, and then just fold that raw edge down to that line. And this is what we have. All right, so now take your bag and decide whether you want the slip pocket at the front of the bag or at the back of the bag. I'm going to have the slip pocket at the front of the bag. So there's my slip pocket there and the front of the bag. So there we just drop it in like that, and the zipper will be at the back of the bag. Now we will line up all of our folded edges here and clip all the way around, and keep that strap connector up and line up your seams. It will get bulky in here, so you may need something to flatten that. Okay, and we're going to top stitch that. I'm going to increase my stitch length to a 4. And I'm not pulling my threads to the back, but what I'm going to do is, typically I will kind of start, if I'm going to back stitch on a bag like this, I'll kind of start over here and back stitch so that when the strap connector is up, it will help to cover that. If you have a cylinder arm, lucky you. And just go slow. Keep making sure that those edges are kept together. Okay, so on this step, we are going to install the grommets. I've already done 11 of them. And to start off with, we had our holes drawn, and then I took this punch and punched the hole. I made sure that this diameter of the punch was the same diameter as what was in the pattern. It does say that this tool that I got with the set, it's a PRECIVIA from Amazon, and I will link this whole kit. I showed it to you at the beginning of the tutorial. It says that it does cut material, but I think when I was practicing with a few of them, I think it's best to cut your holes first. So I am using the medium-sized grommet that came with the set. And so I have my hole. This is the front piece, which is the nice side. So pop that through your hole. Then on this piece, you have the washer, the back, and put it with the rough side up, and it's magnetized, and it goes on the little end here that's kind of short, and it's magnetized. And then just pop it into the bag, line up this part, the male part, into the hole on the front piece that you just put in. And I'm not going to lie to you, this, you need a lot of strength in your hands to close it, and it needs a lot of strength. So I just kind of stand up and push the handles together against my desk, because if the handles aren't pushed all the way together, it's not going to open. See, it won't open if it just goes, it's kind of on a ratchet system. So you have to push it all the way down in order for it to pop open again. So, all right, now we're going to install the drawstring. But there's our grommets. So there's a new skill that I've learned. All right, that took a lot of strength, and I'm glad I figured out to push it against my desk. Anyhow, okay, so we are going to feed the drawstring in from this side and back and forth and around, and see how this works out. And we haven't put our D-ring connectors on yet. Drawstrings are my new, another new skill to learn. That's the beauty of this. There's so many new skills that you can learn, and I've learned quite a few of new skills doing just this bag. Okay, and that's perfect. It comes out the end like I want it to. All right, so we have it fed on, and it looks a little short here. I'm just going to kind of even that up, even these two ends up. Okay, and we are going to put our zipper ends on here, and we've done those before. So I do have two of them. They're gunmetal, and it did have a screw. It's the longer screw. I've got other screws in there for my strap ends. Okay, and I'll get my little screwdriver, take that screw out. Okay. So what I do is, before I put this on, is I always put Beacon's Fabri-Tac in the end of this. I'll just clean this off. I'm almost at the end of this bottle. It just makes a mess all the time. So just squeeze a little drop or two into the zipper end. Not a lot. You don't want it oozing out. There's one. But this helps to hold it'll help to hold the drawstring straps on. All right, and I'm just going to tap that down. Okay. And we want it to kind of hang like this. And I'll stick one on the end and shove it in all the way. Take your stylus, that will help at times too if you need to stick it into the hole at the back and push it. Use it to help push it on, push it in more. And that does help move it quite a bit. And then I'm going to put the other one on. They do go on looser than a zipper will, than going over a zipper. So that's why I like to use the Beacon's Fabri-Tac in there. Okay, and then we take our screwdriver and screw our screws in. There'll be a little bit of glue coming out of those holes, which is perfect, so that it will hold on to the fabric. Oops, it went in crooked. Make sure it goes in straight. Okay, there's one. This just kind of adds a really nice look to the ends of your drawstring. And these are magnetized, or I can keep it magnetized. Okay, there is our drawstring, and then we're just going to take it and pull it. And I was right, my little boo-boo, when I did the top stitching wrong, it will not show. This is so cute. Okay, I fixed my mistake. I can't believe I did that. I must be tired. I did the strap, the drawstring, and I had it tying to the back. There we go. Now it's at the front where it's supposed to be. Holy smokes. See? Things always happen. Anyhow, when we pull it, it's going to look, you know, tie it like this kind of thing, and it's look kind of like that. We are done. I went and finished some things off camera, like we had already done the strap in the beginning, but I went and finished it by folding the raw edge under and riveting it after I added my swivel clasp, so that you can take this strap off if you don't need it. I also did my put the rivets on. You should be really putting your D-ring connectors on before you feed your drawstring on. I did everything backwards. I don't know. Anyhow, but I went and fed the rivets through those little openings that we created and all through everything here, and riveted those in place. Also up here, to ensure that the strap handles weren't flopping down, I also put rivets on the front and the back. And I went and forgot all about our drawstring tab. So I fit that on there, and then I riveted that on as well. So this has to be the cutest little bag there ever was. I just love it, and I'm going to have to make more of these, but how adorable is that? Just the perfect little size. I love the grab handles. The shoulder strap is just perfect for me to sit right here on my hip. Just the perfect length. This is the cutest little bag there ever was. And I love the colors and the fabric from Sam Fabric, like this sunflower, I call it sunflower pattern, and it's definitely sunflower color. Now, sunflowers were my daughter Brenna's favorite flower. So I'm kind of making this in honor of her memory. And I'm going to use it in the summertime because it's just such a fun and happy color. But thank you so much for joining me. You know, we have our side pockets. My phone is a Samsung S25 Ultra, so it's a little big. It's a little tall, but if I put it in the back slip pocket, I'll have that up against my body and it won't fall out because it'll be hugging me. But you know, even if you have, like, say this is a water bottle, because this is kind of like a water bottle size, it'll still fit in there. No problem for you to be able to grab onto it. So of course we have the two side pockets in the front and the back slip pocket as well. And you just pull your drawstring tab down and open up your bag, and there you have a zipper pocket, a large zipper pocket, and a large slip pocket inside. And my phone does fit inside that slip pocket. Lots of room for a super huge phone like mine. So you have to get this pattern and give it a try. Sandeep did a fabulous job in writing this pattern. It's very intricate, but if you stick with it and if you follow the pattern directions or watch a tutorial like mine and follow the details. Now, I apologize that I didn't show how to do this on camera, or the rivets in the handles or the strap. I had finished doing everything and didn't realize I hadn't been recording, but This is just such a cute, cute little bag. And also the base with the purse feet, 5 purse feet on the bottom. So anyhow, thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. On the bottom right-hand corner of your screen is a subscribe button. So if you haven't subscribed, please feel free to do that. It really, really helps get my channel out there even more so as a bag maker. And I just appreciate you guys all being here. So because I'm over 1,700 subscribers, and my first birthday anniversary of my YouTube, my 360 Handmade Bags YouTube, is coming up on July the 7th, 2026. And I'm hoping to have 2,000 subscribers by then, and that would be really, really awesome. So thank you guys so much for being here, and I really, really appreciate it. And we will see you at the next tutorial.